All right, thanks, guys. Let's go ahead and hop into some action. And we're going to start with Akron taking on the Ohio Bobcats, 7 p.m. Eastern kickoff this Tuesday. Now, Ohio's the 26.5-point favorite. Total's 57. We're 6-0 in our last 6 daily best plays on patreon.com/Brock Page. And access to the daily best play costs just $1.99. We currently have over 675 members signed up and active on that page. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/Brock Page. And when it comes to this Akron, Ohio ball game here, the Akron Zips are plus 1,200 for an upset win. Now, Akron gave up 58 total points in their opener against Western Michigan last week. They got to the quarterback just one time, and they forced 0 turnovers defensively. Meanwhile, on the offensive side, quarterback Zach Gibson was just 18 of 30 for 125 yards, along with an interception. Gibson was also sacked 3 times. They're taking on an Ohio program who did end up losing their opener to Central Michigan themselves. Having said that, though, their starting quarterback Curtis Rourke did go 12 of 19 for 231 and a couple of touchdown passes. His favorite target was Isaiah Cox, who had 4 grabs for 102 yards and a touchdown. Cox averaged 26 yards of reception. Now, the Bobcats also rushed for 110 yards against the Chippewas on the ground and a score as well. Running back DeMontre Tuggle had 16 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown. Tuggle averaged nearly 5 yards a carry on the night. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the number in this one, both defenses struggled to keep their opponents out of the end zone. 88 total combined points these teams gave up on the defensive side. Needless to say, both schools are 1-0 to the over thus far in this season. I'm going to make a chalky lean to start off this video here. Give me the Ohio Bobcats minus 26.5 and the over 57 in that contest. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the video. Got some lines of personal leans out for college football week 11. And of course, this is the Mid-Atlantic Conference, the MAC edition. I think I said that, Mid-Atlantic Conference. Anyway, we're talking about some action here. And before we go ahead and dive into some more free content here on YouTube, just got to quickly remind you once again that we're on a 6-game winning streak right now in our daily best play on patreon.com/Brock Page. Of course, that's a perfect 6-0 in our last 6 picks in that category. And access to the daily best play costs just $1.99. Now, we currently have over 675 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/Brock Page. And moving on, we're going to take a look at a Kent State Bowling Green, 7:30 p.m. Eastern start time Tuesday night. Now, the Golden Flashes of Kent State are the 20-point favorite on the road. Totals 59 flat. Bowling Green's plus 650 for an upset win. Now, Bowling Green suffered an embarrassing 35-point loss in their opener to Toledo. The BG Falcons were only able to muster up a measly field goal in that contest. Quarterback Matt McDonald completed just 26% of his passes. And no, you did not mishear me. McDonald went a pathetic 8 of 30 for just 128 yards and 2 interceptions. Once again, 26% of his passes he completed. That's got to be a record or something. But anyway, the defense also has they had no sacks and no interceptions in that contest. Now they're taking on a Kent State team who looked pretty solid in their opener themselves. A nice 27-23 victory over Eastern Michigan. Quarterback Dustin Crum was very efficient against the Eagles. 21 of 29 for 219 and 2 touchdowns. Crum completed 72% of his passes, a little bit different than his counterpart. He also hit Isaiah McCoy for 8 receptions and 104 yards and a touchdown. McCoy averaged 13 yards of reception. Now, this Kent State rushing attack was very dominant as well. 212 yards on the ground and a couple of rushing touchdowns. Running back Brian Bradford touched it a dozen times for 72 yards, 6 yards a carry for Bradford. Meanwhile, defensively, the Golden Flashes got to the quarterback 4 times and also picked off the quarterback twice. Safety Dean Clark was one of those players who had an interception. Clark also had 7 tackles and a PBU. And speaking of tackles, linebacker Mandela Lawrence Burke led the club with 12 total tackles, along with a sack on the evening. Linebacker Keyshawn Gamble also had a pair of sacks for Kent State as well. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the scoring in this matchup here, both schools fell well under the posted total in their openers. And if Kent State can continue with this dominant run game, dominant rush attack, the chance for long sustained drives could be high. So with all that said and done, give me the Kent State Golden Flashes -20 and the under 59. All right, next matchup, it is going to be Miami, Ohio, squaring off against Buffalo. 8 p.m. Eastern kickoff this Tuesday night. Now the Buffalo Bulls are -11, totals 56 and a hook. The Red Hawks of Miami, Ohio are +320 for an upset win. Now Miami has they gave up 31 points to a pretty lackluster Ball State program. Granted, they got the W in the opener, but they did allow Ball State to score in every quarter of that ball game. They gave up 17 second-half points to the Cardinals. They are taking on a Buffalo team who scored a couple of defensive touchdowns and put up 49 points on Northern Illinois. They scored 28 second-half points on the Huskies to put them away in that one. And even though they struggled defensively in certain spots in that ball game, they forced a boatload of turnovers on defense, and they actually held NIU scoreless in the third quarter of that ball game. So a couple bad spots, but many bright spots for this defense. Now the Bulls had 3 sacks on the evening, and once again, they forced a bunch of turnovers on the defensive side. Cornerback Isaiah King had a nice scoop and score along with 6 tackles on the evening. Linebacker Tim Terry also had a defensive touchdown himself, along with 5 tackles on the night as well. So certainly opportunistic play out of this Buffalo Bulls defense. They're kind of like a bend but don't break. They give up some points, but they come up big in certain spots. And of course, can't forget about linebacker James Patterson, who led the team in tackles with 8 of them, along with a forced fumble. Now the Bulls were also fairly efficient on offense. They allowed no sacks on the evening. Pretty good play out of this O-line. And they rushed for 182 yards on the ground. Running back Jared Patterson carried it 20 times for a $137 and 2 scores. Patterson averaged 6.8 yards a carry. Now, total-wise, both teams saw their season openers fly way over the total of 56.5 points. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean toward another favorite, giving me the Buffalo Bulls -11 and the over 56.5 in that contest. All right, next matchup. We're going to move to Wednesday here, and I'm talking about Eastern Michigan, Ball State. 7 p.m. Eastern, kickoff once again Wednesday night. The Ball State Cardinals are the 8.5-point favorite at home. Total is 58 and a hook. The Eagles of Eastern Michigan are +230 on the money line. Now, Eastern Michigan played a very tough game against a solid Kent State ball club. They held the Golden Flashes to just 7 second-half points, despite the loss in that one. Linebacker Terry Myrick had double-digit tackles on the evening, 4 of them solo. And defensive back Al LaFleur also had an interception from the secondary and a trio of tackles. Quarterback Preston Hutchinson also threw for 241 yards and a couple of TDs. He hit wideout Hassan Beydoun 9 times for 112 yards. Beydoun averaged nearly 13 yards of reception. And despite, the loss in that one, the Eagles are officially 1-0 against the spread on the season after covering the 4.5 points. Now they're taking on a Ball State program who kind of floundered defensively in their opener themselves, giving up 38 points to Miami, Ohio in a loss. Ball State actually gave up 28 second-half points in that contest there. Now total-wise, when it comes to the number in this one, Ball State's opener did fly almost 15 points above the posted number for that ball game. It also got well over 58.5 total points as well. So with all that in mind, give me the underdog Eastern Michigan Eagles +8.5 in the over 58 and a hook in that matchup. All right, next ball game, it is going to be Central Michigan, Northern Illinois, and that's going to be an 8 p.m. Eastern start time on Wednesday night. Now the Chippewas of Central Michigan, they are -7 on the road, total 61 flat. And I used +230 for some money line cash. But despite a really kind of sloppy, turnover-filled game last week, this Husky offense has proven that they can move the football on the ground. Now, the Huskies rushed for 156 yards on the ground in their opener, and that actually includes 3 rushing touchdowns kind of in that particular stat. Running back Harrison Whaley carried it 13 times and averaged 5.1 yards per tote. Meanwhile, on the receiving end, wideout Tyrese Ritchie had 9 catches for 106 yards. Now, the defense also forced a couple of turnovers, and they were led by linebacker Nick Ratton, who had a couple, he had more than a couple. He finished the night with double-digit tackles. Now, they're taking on a Central Michigan team who gave up 20 first-half points to the Ohio Bobcats. Now, they did get the W in that contest, but the defense left kind of little to be desired in many spots early in that contest. Meanwhile, offensively, quarterback Daniel Richardson, he completed just 56% of his passes, and he only threw for just 1 touchdown in the game. So certainly was not an explosive performance there by Richardson. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the scoring, both schools scored 30 points each respectively in their openers. Both schools also saw games that flew over the total. So I'm going to lean toward another underdog in this one. Give me the underdog NIU Huskies +7 and the over 61 in that ball game. Next and final matchup for the show, it is going to be Toledo, Western Michigan, 8 p.m. Eastern start time Wednesday night. Western Michigan's the 3-point favorite at home, totals 59 and a hook. The Toledo Rockets are +120 for an outright win. Now, Toledo rushed for a staggering 310 yards in their season opener, and that was a 38-3 victory over Bowling Green. Just absolutely dismantled the Falcons in that one. Now, quarterback Eli Peters also threw for 4 touchdowns, and he wasn't sacked once. Really good protection. Running back Shaquille Seymour carried the rock 13 times for 93 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 7.2 yards a carry. This dominant Rocket defense also forced 3 turnovers and held Bowling Green scoreless for the first 30 minutes. Safety Nate Bauer had an interception from the secondary, a couple of tackles. Meanwhile, linebacker Deontay Johnson had 7 total tackles on the night. Toledo once again gained 524 yards offensively in their opener. Pretty good performance there. Now, total-wise, the Rockets did see their opener stay about 22 points below the posted total for that contest. Meanwhile, Western Michigan, on the other side, held Akron to just 13 total points in their season opener themselves. So with all that said and done, opened up with a lot of favorites, closed out with a lot of underdogs. Give me the underdog Toledo Rockets +3 and the under 59.5 in that contest. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind we bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Monday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.